Good day, CAF golfers. Marc-andré Piette joining you from the Hylands Golf Club. We're happy to have you guys out again for another exciting week of golf and fitness session. Last week we talked about our alignment in terms of the squareness of the box, where we must have target line and body parallel together. This week we're going to now talk about how our spine should set up into that vertical alignment. So what's important to understand this week is we're going to talk about the vertical swing path of the club, which is going to be our green line here. So most clubs will come into a downward ascent into the golf ball, except with the driver where we want to hit it on the upswing a little bit. So always try to picture this here. So what you got to understand is that if my spine is setting up forward this way, all of a sudden now my angle of attack is going to become very steep into the golf ball. Where if my spine is set up too much this way, all of a sudden my angle of attack is going to be too shallow, and then I won't be able to make good contact. So we need to find the right in between, where our spine is slightly tilted to our backside on my right side as a right-handed golfer. So what we want to do, if we're addressing the golf ball here, naturally when I'm holding the golf club, because my top hand is higher than my bottom hand, my lead shoulder or my left shoulder is higher than my back shoulder, my right shoulder. So that way I cannot go against my body and then try to have a spine straight here. I must have a slight tilt. Now what's important to understand is that within that tilt I want to balance out my weight also. So if I slightly tilt to my right, now all of a sudden I have too much weight to my right foot. So, and if I don't tilt enough, then I have too much weight on my left foot. So really, it's just as if I was pulling your belt loop forward this way, and that way I move my hips just slightly forward, and then my spine is slightly tilted to the right. So most people think that we must tilt our spine to our right with our driver, which is true, but all the clubs in the bag, we must tilt a little bit to our right in order to help us shallow out our angle of attack. With the driver, which we might talk about in weeks to come, there's going to be a lot more tilt here because I want to help myself hit the ball on the upswing. So again, if we summarize it, making sure that my upper body is slightly tilted to my right this way, and then that my hips have moved slightly forward, maybe an inch or so, to balance out my weight between my left and right. And from here, I can take a confident swing. So this will summarize the alignment, guys. So horizontal alignment last week, vertical alignment this week, and then Derek's going to follow up in the gym shortly with a bunch of exercises that's going to help you with those. So we'll see you next week.
Welcome back, CAF members. Derek, FSI TPI coach here at Carling. We're back with part 2 of week 6, working on vertical alignment. So on Monday, we talked about the importance of the lateral side of the body to allow you to be able to bend properly from side to side. We stretched that out, tried to make some space there on Monday. Today, for most people, the lats are weak. The obliques, definitely a weak spot for them. Those are 2 key components to the vertical alignment. So I'm going to give you some easy exercises that you can do from home today to start strengthening those areas. Number 1, simple, no equipment required. You're going to go ahead, you're going to lie on your back. This one is called supine heel touches. We're going to really focus on the lateral flexion, the lateral bending, the oblique muscles here of the core. So you can start on your back, but I do want you to try to pull your shoulders off the ground to get the core engaged to start. So your low back is pushing into the ground. You can bring your heels as close to your hips as you want to, but the further away they are, the harder it's going to be. Hands are by my side, shoulders off the ground. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to reach, squeeze that lateral side, the oblique on the one side, touch my heel, and then I'm going to go back to the other side. So basically I'm just shifting my weight from side to side, trying to tap one heel and tap the other heel. If you're doing this properly, It shouldn't take you too many repetitions before you feel the lateral side or the outside part of your abs engaged. If it's too hard to keep your shoulders off the mat, then you can always keep your shoulders on the ground. You will still work on strengthening that lateral flexion of the body, but you just won't engage the core quite as much. Exercise number 2. What you're going to do is you're going to grab a weight, okay? For this one, if you have weight in one hand, what's going to happen is the weight is going to want to pull down on your body in that direction due to gravity. What you have to do is you need to be able to strengthen through the opposite side to try and keep the shoulders square. Exercise number 1 that you're going to do with the dumbbell in hand is going to be a single arm carry. So try and find a space where you can walk 25 to 30 feet, keeping the shoulders square. If you're not sure, maybe you have a mirror in front of you, but you're trying to walk stably on one side, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, trying to maintain a square body. Make sure that it's not pulling you down as you're walking with the weight. You have to do the work through that lateral portion to keep you in a straight position. From here, we add a little bit of a challenge. You're not going to walk anymore, but you are going to move through the hips. So we're going to do exercise number 3, which is a single arm reverse lunge. So I try and pull my shoulder up so that they're square. I'm only holding weight in one arm. I'm going to step back, knee to the ground, and I'm going to push myself back up. Again, that weight's going to want to pull my body towards, in my case, the right side. I need to use the lateral muscles on the left side to keep me square when I step back in my lunge. So I'm going to do 10 to 12 reps, stepping back with my right leg if the weight is in my right hand, keeping everything square. And then I'm going to switch sides, same thing. Now I'm engaging the right side to keep me square, and I'm going to step back with my left leg. Keeping the chest nice and tall, trying to keep the shoulder engaged here, but we're working on stabilizing. If you have a weight in each hand, they sort of offset. Yes, it's going to be a little bit heavier, so your lunge might be a little more challenging, but your core engages more when you're holding weight on one side versus both sides. Exercise number 4 is going to be a sumo squat in a goblet form. So goblet just means we're going to cradle a dumbbell or a weight or anything you have. It could be a backpack just underneath the chin here. And we're going to open up those hips a little bit by doing a sumo squat. So in terms of a sumo squat, your feet are going to be 1.5 times the width of your shoulders with your toes turned out. This is going to force the hips to rotate a little bit more, and it's going to be a little bit harder to get down. You'll feel a little more of a stretch in the groin with this squat, but it really works on opening up those hips. So the first movement with the sumo squat, hips go back and down, but I want you to focus on pushing your knees out over your baby toes and then driving through the heels and extending back up. We're trying to get to the point where we're at least hips at 90 degrees to the ground. Okay, so parallel to the ground. If you can, you get below your knee crease, but I know due to restrictions and injuries, it's not always possible for everybody. I just want you guys to make sure that as you squat down, the knees are not caving in. Okay, we're always driving the knees out as wide as possible and keeping the chest nice and tall. Exercise number 5. For this one, you're going to need an anchor point and a resistance band. This is called a resisted push-pull. So my anchor point is going to be a little bit higher, and I need a light dumbbell to do my push. But this is going to work on both the lat muscle right through here with my pull, but it's also going to work on my obliques because as I pull with one arm, I'm going to push with the other arm. So you can do this with a weight at the shoulder where I lean back about 45 degrees, and as I pull, I'm going to push with the opposite arm, and then come back. So I rotate one way, rotate the other way. If it's too hard with a weight, then you can just reach with the opposite hand, just like this. So I'm adding some rotation, which is strengthening through the obliques, but I'm also working that lat. What you do on one side, just make sure that you also do on the other side. So you're not just pressing with one and pulling with one, you're gonna press with one and pull with one, and you're gonna do the same thing on the other side for 10 to 12 repetitions and 3 sets. Your last exercise for today is called an archer row. So an archer row, we're gonna create some rotation in the hips first, and then we're gonna use the lat and the upper back muscles to pull. Feet together to start, pointing at your anchor point. We're gonna take a step back, and what we're doing is we're opening the hips towards the opposite direction, and from there, it's called an archer row because you're pulling the band back as if you're drawing back a bow and arrow. So hips open, then pull, back. Hips open first, then pull with the elbow nice and high, then back. Continuously focusing on opening. You should feel some rotation in the hips before you feel the pull in the upper body. Again, I did that on the right side, so I do 10 to 12 reps on the right side, 10 to 12 reps on the left side, and you do that for 3 sets. There are 6 exercises that will definitely help you strengthen those lats, strengthen the obliques, give you more control to allow yourself to set up the way your pro wants you to when it comes time to attacking the ball in your golf swing. We will see you next week for week 7 of your golf fundamentals and fitness program.